For some reason,
Oh,
I'm not seeing the mute button on my screen, which is different than the last, than our last pre-hearing 2 minutes ago. So
I don't know, maybe your computer wants you to go in and out.
I guess so. Who knows?
Yeah, trying to find one. Well, we've got our live stream on.
Oh, there we go. I fixed it.
I think this is going to be less people. Thank you, Miss Anna.
And hearing examiner Hurst, I believe Mark Walker is also going to join this call, but I'll be handling it for SPS on the.
Okay. And I forgot to and I had a note on it and I didn't see it. I'd like SPS to email me the case docs that they filed.
Okay, in both cases.
In both cases,
Okay.
please. Yes.
We can definitely make that happen.
Okay. Everyone had so much fun in the last one. They're not showing up for this one.
I know. What the heck? I'm offended. I thought everyone would want to be on this case.
I don't know. Maybe they had to go get their coffee.
I understand that.
Took me forever to fix the time on my computer. My computer was always 10 minutes faster.
That's so weird. How did that happen?
I don't know. But I found some button that basically allows an automatic function instead of a manual function. And hello there, Mr. Bagetko. So I can't say that it was changed, that I was able to change the time due to expertise. I think it was more than, just like serendipity. Hello, Mr. Bartel.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm doing fine.
We just ended a SPS pre-hearing for a standby rate about 5 minutes ago. So I think probably we're going to see some of those people again. Just want to let you know that if you have clients or others who wish to view this, it's on YouTube. You just go to the commission website and there'll be a button that Anna just put on there. So we are being live streamed. And Mr. Bagatko, I can see you. I can't hear you.
All right, how's that, Madam Hearing Examiner?
That's good. I said I can, not can't. I can see you.
Excellent.
Oh, there's Miss Lynch. I don't think we're going to get all the participation that we just had in our standby pre-hearing, but my list says that there's at least going to be 2 more participants. There's Mr. Gatka. So hello there, Mr. Getko.
Good morning.
So I'm thinking Miss Beatles is the only one I had on my list. There's Mr. Walker. And Mr. Walker, I had indicated to Miss Lees that even though I had a little note, I forgot to ask you in the last case, please email me your case docs filed in that in 22-155, please. Okay, there's Miss Beatles. Mr. Bagatko, do you anticipate Ms. Dashino and Mr. Sidler, or are they going to be watching on YouTube?
I understand you sent them Zoom invitations, correct, Madam Hearing Examiner?
I believe that Ms. Kippenbrock sent them. Yes.
Okay. If they don't show up, then so be it. It's maybe they just feel satisfied to watch it on YouTube.
Okay. All right. Well, for those that just joined, just a reminder again, we're live streaming on YouTube so that clients and others can watch for training purposes. As I said earlier this morning, you got friends that don't have anything to do, and you can show them what part of what we do. Okay, let's go ahead then and begin our pre-hearing conference for case 22-00178. And this is SPS'S grid bond. Case, and this case has been assigned, and commission has asked me to set a procedural schedule and to have a hearing on this. And I believe, Ms. Lees, that you have sent around a potential procedural schedule. And before we talk about that, I have a couple of things that I wanted to ask you with regard to your application that you filed in this case. And just for just to sort of set the stage in this, this case, like the last case, is connected to a prior case with the commission. And my understanding is that in case number 21-00148 UT, pursuant to SPS's request, the commission granted SPS's motion to dismiss without prejudice and ordered a refiling of the application, and in that order set forth some very specific issues that it wanted SPS to address in its refiled application. And I believe SPS in its application has indicated that that SPS did in fact address those four issues. That's correct, Ms. Lees?
That's correct, Your Honor. And in the direct testimony of Brooke Trammell, she also outlines which witnesses addresses those issues that are laid out in the order, so that you can know what witnesses to refer to that discuss those issues, those specific issues.
Okay. And in the commission's order that was issued August 3rd in the instant case, in addition to appointing me to preside over this case, the commission ordered that the recommended decision, which I'm required to file, in this case, shall include and address the following specifics. And in that order, the commission said, A, whether and how customer benefits will be phased in at the same time frame as the legacy meters are phased out. B, include a detailed schedule by customer class identifying and including one, when peak shading and or time of use rates providing significant customer savings will be available for all customers in all customer classes. 2, when demand response programs offering significant customer savings will be available for all customers in all customer classes. 3, an evaluation of whether customers taking advantage of these programs should be grouped into separate customer classes with reduced load factors. And 4, include in the schedule initial program solicitation and or design start dates, program implementation dates, and program evaluation dates. You've had a chance to review those particular specifics included in the commission order, Ms. Lees?
Yes, I have, Your Honor.
And are each and all of those specifics required by the commission to be discussed in this case? Are they provided in your application and testimony supporting your application?
Yeah, we'll need to either, Your Honor, respond to a bench request from you on these issues, or if you would like us to file supplemental testimony, we can also do that as well. I think there's, excuse me.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think there's enough time in the proposed schedule to fit that in without changing other deadlines.
Okay, and in the proposed schedule that you sent out at the end of last week, I actually did put in a supplemental testimony box at the top. So my question to you is, how soon can you get that done?
Your Honor, do you have any objection to the supplemental testimony deadline being the same as the intervention deadline?
Yes.
Okay.
Because basically that's only going to give staff and intervener 2 weeks to look at it.
Okay.
So, and my assumption, Ms. Lisa, is that you, again, are going to do a special mailer for this one.
Yeah, we'll need 2 weeks from the date that you provide us the notice, which we're assuming we'll get the notice from you by Friday.
Okay, so if notice. Okay, if you get the notice by the 19th, then you're saying you can send it out, publish it both by the 2nd intervention date. So you're only putting in 2 weeks for intervention.
That's correct, Your Honor.
Yeah.
I think that can be moved without moving anything else. If you'd like, we can.
So if we move that out to say, added another week.
Yeah.
19. Gonna need to. Keep getting an audio message from my phone about being connected. Okay, so. Do you think you can get your testimony, your supplemental testimony filed by the 26th of this month? Gives you 2 weeks.
Can we have a little bit of extra time and do the last day of the month, August 31st? If not, we'll make it happen, but it might just be a.
Well, I want you to have, I mean, those questions are really important to the commission and they've included them in their order. So I
Yeah.
want you to have a time that's appropriate for your witnesses to fully answer the. So I don't want you to scrimp on, not that you would, but you know, I want you to have an appropriate time, but we may have to adjust some of these.
I was going to suggest September 5th, Your Honor, which gives everyone 4 weeks before staff and intervener testimony is due.
Is that a holiday?
You know what? It might be. So the 6th, we'd have to do the 6th or the 2nd.
Okay, so if we did the 2nd, and then. Okay, why don't I propose? how? Okay, let me ask this. How, and I've not had an opportunity to go back and look at your last case, but am I correct? You had a stipulation in that case?
No, Your Honor, that was
No.
fully litigated.
Oh, it was fully, okay. And are we missing some parties that you had in that case, in the pre-hearing here today?
I don't think so. I can check on that very quickly. No, oh, OPL had also intervened and they are not here today.
Okay,
OPL, however, did not file testimony in that case. They did intervene.
okay. So. In order to have a bit more time in between, I would float. How many days did it take you? Do you really need 4 days? Or
I'm sorry,
no,
what are
3
you?
days? You're saying 5, 6, and then come back around to the 9th?
I don't think we'll need the 9th, but I, just in case we need a third day, I know that the Attorney General is not available until the 9th for a third day. At least that's my understanding.
Okay. Okay, so here's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking if, again, the intervention date would be September 19th. I'm thinking staff and intervener testimony on the 11th. Rebuttal testimony stays on the 31st. A stipulation deadline of November 10th. Opposition to the stipulation, you can't change. It has to be 5 days, according to the rule. So it would have to be the 15th. Testimony in support of the stipulation would be the 23rd. Testimony in opposition to the stip would be December 7th. Pre-hearing on the 9th, and a hearing the 12th through the 15th. How do people feel about that schedule? That opens it up a little bit.
Madam Hearing
For-
Center, can you repeat the pre-hearing date and the hearing date?
The pre-hearing would be on December 9th. And the hearing would be, if you need 3 days, would be the 12th through the 14th. I said the 15th, but I meant the 14th. If you need 3, you know, I mean, we could book that whole week if you want, but we think 3 days is going to get it, be the 12th, the 13th, and the 14th. And again, the reason that I propose stretching these dates, is that since you're gonna have to file supplemental testimony, it gives staff and the parties a little more time, not only to analyze your application, but your supplemental testimony. And then it still gives you 3 weeks for your rebuttal. And then after that, it's giving you an extra 3 days to discuss any proposed agreement. Again, the next one is set by rule. It's 5 days. And then it's given whoever might file that's actually pretty close. Giving whoever might file that testimony. No, it's giving you 2 weeks from the step to file the testimony. And then some additional time for filing the testimony in opposition. Any comment on this proposal? Can this work for people, not work for people? Again, I don't know that we have to have this optimistic a hearing. I mean, this gives you a hearing this year in a case that's indefinitely suspended. But has been heard, withdrawn, and has come back. So tell me how you're feeling about my proposed schedule. In lieu of what I heard in the last pre-hearing, from SPS and we're filing our rate case on or about November 14th.
SPS certainly appreciates getting a hearing in this matter before the end of the year, Your Honor, and this looks like the schedule should be fine with us. Obviously, I'd like to hear from other parties, but no objection here, Your Honor.
This is Kevin with the AG. I just verified our dates. We have one witness that won't be available on the 13th. But I imagine we could organize things to have that witness go on the 12th.
And Mr. Gecko, how many witnesses does the AG propose?
Currently,
Potentially.
probably 2.
Okay. Ms. Lynch, is CCAE going to have a witness?
Potentially, most likely through Southwestern Environmental Education, or Southwest Environmental or Southwest Energy Efficiency Project. Apologies, I'm still, waking up, I guess. I don't know, but that was misspoken. So that would be our expert in this matter.
Okay, one witness. Thank you. Ms. Beatles?
I'm in a similar situation. I've reached out to our internal grid analyst, and she is determining whether she has the capacity to participate in this case. So we would like to, and it would be only one witness. Thank you.
Very well. Mr. Bartel? Who will you be representing?
We are representing Walmart. And I believe we would have one witness to present.
How do you feel about the schedule?
It looks okay to me, but I haven't checked. I haven't gotten feedback from the witness yet, but
Okay.
on my calendar, it's fine.
Okay. And I haven't heard from Miss Lynch, Miss Beatles. Does the schedule work for you?
Yes, for me. And if we bring in a witness, it'll have to work for her too.
So some combination. Well, I think Mr. Bagacco, that just leaves you. Are you scowling at me?
No, I'm not scowling at you. I'm still just a little perturbed about my technology situation. I think the dates you proposed will work for me. I've sent an email out to my team for their feedback. So far, I haven't gotten any objections from them. And just looking at the overall schedule, I want to say it will work, but I'm giving them a little more time here to send me an email if they have an issue with what you've proposed.
And how many witnesses would staff have?
I believe we're going to have 3 witnesses, Madam Hearing Examiner, possibly 4, depending on the division of labor and other conflicts with other cases. But that's our range, I believe, right now.
And are you going to be able to clone yourself so that you're going to be able to work on the standby case too?
I got
At the
some
same
help.
time?
I got some
Okay.
help. I dread the prospect of having to clone myself because I don't want to have to deal with myself more than I have to already.
Okay. Well, I mean, I know that, save Mr. Bartel, and, you're invited to get into the standby rate case, Mr. Bartel. But seeing that we have similar, similar parties, I'd much rather spend more time working on these dates than as I advised you at the end of the last pre-hearing. These are like little dominoes, and if one of these dates slips, if you all file for extensions of time, don't expect that you're going to get such a crunchy, potentially a schedule in the case. I mean, obviously, you all have dealt with this case once. You all know more about it at this particular time than I do. And since you've already had your litigation in this matter this year, I believe, you all may already not need the discovery time or the testimony time to become acquainted with all the issues. So, okay, well, let's talk about, since we sort of, I think, have a framework for that. Let's talk about a couple of other issues that I had. We discussed the supplemental testimony, which is one of the issues that I had. And one of the other issues I had in when I was looking at this on Saturday, was something that I saw in I believe the recitation in the commission's order. And so I'm referring to item 5. Which says that the application requests approval of its proposed revenue requirement and authorization to earn a return on the capital investments under the PUA and grid modernization statute. The revenue requirement calculation methodology forecasts the revenue requirement, and this is on to page 5, prior to each calendar year, which is then trued up to actual costs and actual revenue. SPS proposes to use its most recently approved WACC of 7.19%, which was approved in case number 19-00170 UT. That's what it said in your application, Ms. Lees?
That's correct, Your Honor.
And I guess what I'm trying to figure out is 19-170 was not your most recent rate case.
That's correct, Your Honor.
20-00238 was your most recent rate case.
That's
Correct?
correct. That's correct.
So when you say most recently approved WACC, I don't believe that's correct.
Your Honor, the stipulation in 20-00238, I believe I've just pulled it up so I can read the exact wording of it for you.
Yeah.
Um,
But the WACC in that case for limited purpose was 7.07, correct?
That's correct. And because it was stipulated to be used for that limited purpose, Your Honor, we didn't feel it was appropriate to apply it as the most recently approved to outside of that limited purpose. We did
Well-
not feel it was appropriate to use it outside of that limited purpose.
Okay, so I don't think I can use most recently approved language, Ms. Lees,
Okay,
because I don't believe that's correct. I believe your most recently approved WACC was 7.07, and then the corresponding, the 945 is not correct, it's 935. And then the cap structures also changed. In the commission's most recently approved determination and approval of the STIP in case 20-00238. Okay. So if what you're proposing is to use the WACC, the ROE, and the cap structure from case 19-00170, I'm going to change your description and not say most recently approved.
okay, and you're talking about for the proposed notice, Your Honor?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I'm
So
fine.
I want to capture, I just want to capture what it is you've included in the components of your revenue requirement. So if you're actually using the numbers, and I understand why, if you're using the numbers from case number 170, then I'll include those numbers. Is that what you're doing?
So the proposed notice that we filed, Your Honor, I think tell me what you think, but the language there says in paragraph 7, the capital investment recovered through the DMR is included in the revenue requirement through the return and depreciation expense components of the revenue requirement. SPS proposes to use its current WACC of 7.19%, which was approved in case number 19-00170 UT and is based on the ROE of 9.45. It doesn't say most recently approved. Does that,
Okay.
is that language sufficient for you in the proposed notice? Because I understand what your issue is. I see that that's what was said in the order. The language in the notice is a little different. The proposed notice.
And is that the commission's language to describe your, or did they get that from your application?
They might have gotten it from our application. I'm just looking at our proposed notice now, and that issue doesn't seem to be there. Let me look at the application.
And I'm just wondering if we need to change that last sentence to the extent that the approved WAC changes during the GMR, SPS will reflect the currently approved WAC.
Yeah, and the approved WAC in the 2021 rate case is for limited purposes only, so it's SPS's position that it wouldn't apply to this, but as SPS files rate cases that change that, that's what that's language is trying to capture. And I'm looking to see if the commission got that language. Yeah, it looks like that language was from our application. But that language is not in the proposed notice.
Okay, so if I change that last sentence to say SPS will reflect the most recent commission determined WAC, is that correct?
So it will say, I apologize for just asking for clarification. So would that sentence say, to the extent that the approved WAC changes during the GMR, SPS will reflect the most current?
The most recent commission determined WAC.
Yes, I think that reflects what we're trying to say here, what we were trying to say in this sentence.
Okay, and again, I'm not critical of the language. I just want the language to accurately reflect if possible, the actual state of approval, actual determination of an issue. And I'm open to suggestions if any party has, something they think might, be shorter or more clear. But I think if we say the most recent commission determined WAC, I think that might capture it.
Yeah, determined or approved WAC is fine.
Or could you say litigated?
If we say commission approved WAC, wouldn't that encompass whether it was litigated or not?
I don't think so.
Okay,
That's where my problem is
Okay.
that it is that in this language where you say most recently approved WAC. Well, I think it could be argued that, that the commission approved a 7.07 WAC in 20-00238
okay.
when it approved the STIP. Now, parties to that case are aware that it was for a limited purpose. So, one could asterisk it, but it was approved.
So I guess my question then is recently determined WAC, would that encompass then the litigated? Ms. Beatles?
In my opinion, approval is a determination. So that's why I suggested the alternative of litigated.
Madam Hearing Examiner,
Mr. Begacco?
if I may, can we just more directly and succinctly tie it to case number 19-00170-UT, since that's where these components were determined? And I think anybody who picks up the notice then would be able to see this is discreetly and clearly tied to a specific commission proceeding, and just leave it at that instead of trying to describe it in other ways. I think we just keep it more simple and direct that way. These numbers come from 19-170 UT.
And that's what the proposed notice says, Mr. Begacco. What I'm working on is the next sentence that says, to the extent, so they're trying to provide in the notice that if the WAC changes, it will be reflected. Maybe I should just say that.
I think that's pretty clear. And I think your language is spot on that way.
So to the extent that the approved WAC changes during the GMR will reflect that change.
No, and I'm not taking that.
I'm trying to understand what is being proposed. That's why I'm just asking what the sentence.
Yeah,
would be.
no, and I think the sentence, the last sentence would say, if the WAC changes during the GMR, it will be reflected,
Okay.
or SPS will reflect it. And then that way we get away from approved and et cetera. Because that first sentence says, SPS proposes to use the 7.9, which was approved in case number blah, blah. Ooh, I'm confusing myself. SPS will reflect the new WAC on a going forward basis. I'll just leave it. Okay. So something to the effect of, if the WAC changes during the GMR, comma, SPS proposes to reflect the new WAC. Thoughts?
That's acceptable.
Can you read that one more time, Your Honor?
Sure. If the WAC changes during the GMR, comma, SPS proposes to reflect the new WAC.
Okay. It's fine, Your Honor.
Well, I'm open. Okay. All right, and then, back to my procedure order. You've answered that question. And that means I get to put another footnote in the procedure order. Well, I got a smile out of Miss Beatles at least. Little humor there. Okay. All right, so we've dealt with that, we've dealt with that. As discussed in the last pre-hearing, and for those who weren't privy to that, Mr. Bartel, Mr. Jernigan of the FEA wondered about in-person versus Zoom. I will include in the notice that it could be either or. Potentially the hearing room here, which is small, might be able to be utilized. But I'm going to leave it open because I honestly don't know when the commission might be utilizing the room. If it's Wednesdays, if it's Tuesday, Wednesday, if it's, I think the other day, I don't know. I know they had a presentation or something on a Thursday. And unless there's some edict that directs me otherwise, I'm going to say this one probably will be Zoom, but we can stay tuned on that. And I'm open to hear if somebody has a different thought on that. Okay. Ms. Lees, I would make the same request of you as I made to Mr. Walker in the last pre-hearing. Please find my typical customers for me to include in the notice, so that I can just say, and so who uses so much. This is what their bill would be. Let me also.
Oh, I'm sorry, Your Honor.
Go
I just have
ahead.
a follow-up question. So you're just wanting a one sentence that concisely says what the typical customer is, and you're not talking about the bill comparisons that we already have proposed in the notice?
No. I just like to, as I indicated in the, in the last pre-hearing, in an effort to try to refine and make the notice more readable to those who actually want to read it. I think it would be good if we had something up front for each of the customer classes that just basically says, the typical customer in this group uses, however much, 550, 790. I can't remember what your typical residential customer uses, but and this would affect them. And I realize you have winter, summer. Just if you just give some benchmark for the customer classes, I think that that would be good, so we could have that information. And to the extent I can, I'm going to try to move some of the dates up front too in this. Just because. Okay. And I asked, something else I was going to ask, and I don't think I included it in my last notice. I might have. Are you allowing customers in your office, in your SPS office? The one that we used to locate.
Are you talking
Is
about
it in
our
Roswell?
office in Roswell?
Yeah.
Customers can, I believe that office is open to the public.
can you check that out and
Yep.
verify that, and send me the correct address? Because I want to put that back in my notice. I mean, I know they can go, on the internet, et cetera, but if, because I think some of the offices were maybe not allowing that, but I'd kind of like to get back to putting that in. So if you could check that out.
Yep.
Let me know. I'd appreciate that. And I think with that had the procedural items that I was interested in discussing. And just to make sure we're on the same page, I will run through the time frame one more time. Supplemental testimony by September 2nd. The notice also on that date. Intervention deadline on the 19th. And that notice, that's dependent on a separate notice, not a bill stuffer. That's sequenced. Okay, intervention on September 19th, staff interviewer testimony on October 11th, rebuttal testimony on October 31st. Stipulation deadline November 10th, opposition to stipulation deadline November 15th, testimony in support of stipulation November 23rd, testimony in opposition to stipulation December 7th, pre-hearing conference on December 9th, and a hearing to be scheduled beginning on the 12th and going on to the 13th and 14th. And potentially at this point, how many do you have? 3 witnesses, Ms. Lees?
We have more than 3 witnesses. We have 7.
Okay. Mike just filled in that extra day. Just in case, all right, because it looks like we have about 15 right now, potentially. Okay, all right, anything else that we need to discuss? Hearing nothing. Thank you all very much. Appreciate your time and your participation, and we are recessed until we need to come back, potentially on December 9th for a pre-hearing conference. I appreciate it, and we're adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Recess.
Madam Hearing Examiner.